Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to start video one of what will probably be a 3 or 4 part video series on the solid state logic Bus Plus. Today we're going to take a look at it in a couple of different ways. I'm going to explain what the series is going to be all about. We're going to be very specific today on what features we're going to look at today on the Bus Plus. And then in subsequent videos, I'll tell you what we're going to be doing so we can test out the Bus Plus all in its glory with all the different features and all the different things you can do with it. But we're going to stretch it out over a course of a few videos. Today, we're going to use it in its very basic format, set up similarly to the way I would set it up in my console when I was using my console compressor here on the SSL Origin. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, and you'll know when I post the next videos for the SSL Bus Plus. Now, before we get started, just so you know, I want you guys to leave comments below and let me know if there's anything specific you want to see and how we use the Bus Plus, any of the features to explain everything, because this thing does a ton of stuff. And there's lots of YouTube videos out there showing you all the features and walking through everything. And we're not going to do that all in one video because it would take too long and it'll be a little bit confusing because the thing can do so much. So watch this video, leave comments below, let me know what you'd like to see in future videos on the Bus Plus, and I'll be sure to gather up all that information and provide that to you guys so you guys can have a real understanding of how this unit works if you're in the market for such a unit. So full disclosure, Solid State Logic did send this to me for free so I can do this review and this demo as well as the future demos for you. And I get to keep the unit if I'd like to keep it, but they're not paying me for the videos. But they're paying me the videos with a piece of gear. I'd like to be 100% transparent. This thing is a killer piece of gear. It's awesome. You know I love SSL. I'm sitting in front of a console, and I've been using their stuff for a long, long time. And I'm happy and honored to be working with them on this unit because this unit is killer. So let's talk about the Bus Plus. What is the Bus Plus? As you can see it on the screen here, it is really a culmination of all the years of the famous G Series Bus Compressor that's in the console that now is made in a 500 unit. They put that all inside of this Bus Plus, and this thing can do not only just the simple classic, run-of-the-mill meat and potatoes SSL glue that you put on your master bus, but it can do so much more. So think of this unit as the what you know as the G Series Bus Compressor on steroids times 10. That's what this thing can do with a bunch of added features that you could never do with the console compressor or the 500 series compressor. Could never do it. They put it all into this one unit. This thing can sound like everything from the old 4000 series compressor all the way to the stuff in the duality and in the J series stuff and everything in between, with some even additional features beyond that. So you can see it all in its glory. It's this big, beautiful stereo unit with a ton of knobs on it. And some of these knobs are multifunctional. And that's why this series needs to be at least 3 videos to go through it all. So what I want to do today is I only want to focus on the very basic of what this thing sounds like with a couple of extra features that you don't get in the compressor when you buy the 500 series, or you don't get it if you have it in the console. There's a couple of extra little features that we're going to talk about today, and we're going to listen to it on a couple of mixes here. So what I'd like to do is reposition the camera here and show you just the left side of the compressor, because what's great about this Bus Plus is they have a mode switch, and there are 4 different modes in this particular compressor with this button right here in the center. We have it right now in the classic stereo mode, which means that the left side of the compressor is going to control both left and right channels. It's going to act just like the normal compressor in the console in the 500 series unit. As we get into future videos and we start switching through the modes, we'll be using both sides of the compressor as a linked or as dual mono or mid side and all of that. We'll talk about that in future videos. So we're going to keep it right now in classic stereo mode. So we're only looking at the left side of the compressor. So let me move the camera here so you guys can see just the left side of the compressor. And I'm looking up at the screen so I can see what you guys are seeing. So I apologize if I'm not always looking right at you. So if we just walk through the controls quickly of what this thing is, let me show you. So if we start up here at the top left, we have these 3 series of buttons. These 3 series of buttons are the little extra flavor that we're going to show in this video that goes beyond just the normal compressor that's in my console. We have this low THD button, feedback button, and the 4K mode. Those are the 3 extra special sauces that we're going to talk about, and I'll explain what each one of those buttons do when we get to them. Down here we have our threshold, ratio, attack, release, our mix knob, which is on 100%, makeup gain, the side chain, and then this low frequency gain, which is all part of the dynamic EQ we're not going to talk about in this video. We're just going to talk about the 7 blue knobs that are here. So a couple of things that are special about the Bus Plus over a normal, regular old G Series bus compressor is we have more attack times here, okay, than we do. We also have a couple of extra release times, include 2 auto release, and auto release 2, which is new. And then we have some more ratios. The ratios go all the way from 1.3 to 1, all the way up to negative 0.5 dB. So there's a couple of negative ratios on this, which again is unique to this unit, which we'll demonstrate in another video when we do it on maybe parallel drums and stuff like that. You can really get some really cool pumping and breathing effects when you use a negative ratio. Again, we're going to talk about that in a future video, but you have that ability on this unit that you don't have on a regular bus compressor. As I said too, you have more release times, include the second auto release as well. And then again, I believe you have even more attack times on this as well. There's far more attack times on this than what's on the compressor in my console. So these knobs are a little bit more versatile, a little bit more control. You can get a little bit more precise and get different sounds out of this thing. The way I have this set up right now is the way I would usually set up my bus compressor on the console. We're using a 10 millisecond attack. I'm using auto release, my auto release 1. I'm using the side chain filter set at 60 Hertz, which right now I'll turn this all the way off. We'll play with that later. And I have a ratio, I believe, of 2 to 1. 2 to 1. So this is typically how I would set up the compressor in my console. And then I'm running it through, we're running it through like this funk dance track, which I'm going to let you listen to in a second. And we're going to do about 4 dB of compression. So here is the track that we're listening to here. And I'm just going to set this up and make sure we're hitting compression just like I would if I was setting it up on the console. So let me do that right now. Here we go. Okay, so we're hitting about 4 dB of compression, auto release, 10 millisecond attack, about 4 dB of compression. Really cool. These 3 buttons up top are not engaged, they're completely off. So the way we bypass this compressor is we just hit channel 1 and that'll turn the meter on and off and you'll hear the before and after. So let me bypass this and unbypass this just so you can hear what it sounds like in its typical classic run-of-the-mill meat and potatoes type of mode, so you can hear what this compressor does and how it just gives you that great SSL glue that this compressor is known for. Here we go. Right, so it's got that nice glue. It's pretty subtle, but it just kind of glues everything together. It gives the snare a little bit more sustain. It gets a little bit thicker, and it has that kind of thing that kind of glues everything together. That's a subtle, classic way that I use the compressor on the console for years. Just that way. These are the exact settings. And before you ask, Dave, can you compare the sound of this to the one in your console? If there's enough comments below that want me to do that, we will do a separate video after the series is over, okay? I can tell you they sound so close. They're almost identical, but if you'd like to see that video, let me know in the comments below. We got to get at least 20 comments to say you want that if you want me to do the video. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, let's play around with the release time a little bit and let's see what that does. Let's go back to a fast release, not auto. tend to like it on the auto release on this particular material. With dance, electronic, heavy low end stuff, I kind of like it on the auto release myself. More rock stuff, a little bit less low end. I kind of like it on the faster release. Let me go back to auto. I'll switch between auto and auto 2 just so you can hear the difference. Here's on auto 2. So I tend to like it on auto release 1. So again, there's just some subtle variations in that. Now, the one thing I want to show you in this video here are these 3 top buttons here. The low THD, the feedback feed forward button, and the 4K mode and the levels of saturation it can do. So if you just use this compressor the way it is and wanted to set it up like a typical, G Series bus compressor, you may say to yourself, well, wow, Dave, it's an awful lot of money to spend on the Bus Plus if I'm just going to use it that way. But what other little things can I add to that that's different, that makes this a little unique? And that's these 3 buttons at the top. And again, I apologize if you can't see the text on here too well because of the lighting, but we have low THD, feedback, and 4K. So the low THD, I'm going to read you exactly what that does right off their website. So the low THD, when that is engaged, there will be less distortion and compression caused by the low-end frequencies. Using the low THD will give it a little more thickness with super low-end material. So great for like dance music and stuff like this. So by using low THD, when you engage that, we're going to get a little bit less compression caused by the low end, and the low end is going to sound a little thicker. And it does. Pay attention to the low end. If you're listening to this on a good set of studio headphones or monitors, you should be able to hear the difference very subtly in the very sub of the bass and of the kick drum. Listen, we'll start with it off and I'll kick it in and you should hear the difference. So it absolutely adds a little bit more thickness on the very bottom end. I love this for like dance music, electronic music, anything with that low end, the kick 808 kind of a thing. That low THD is really, really great. I really like that a lot. Now, if we talk about the next button over, which is the feedback mode button. Okay, so when it's disengaged, let me just read you again off the manual exactly what this does. So the FB mode, or the feedback mode, signal is feeding the side chain that comes after the VCA in the signal path. This will give a little bit more of a relaxed feel to the compressor as opposed to feed forward, where the compressor has a little bit more grabbiness. So when you're using the feedback mode and it's engaged, it's going to feel like a little less compression. It's not going to be as aggressive. And also too, we will see that on the gain reduction meter. You'll see as I go in and out of it, that when we're not using it, we have a little more compression. When we go into the FB mode or the feedback mode, we have a little bit less compression. You'll be able to hear the difference. Let me demonstrate. Right now it's off. Keep your eye on the meter and then I'll engage it, listen, and look at the meter. So I dial down the threshold even more so we had a little more compression so you can see the meter a little bit more. When we're not using feedback mode, we have more compression. With it, we're having a little less compression. So it's a little bit more of a relaxed compression, depending on how you want to set it up and depending on the program material. In this particular mix, I kind of like having it engaged to get a little less compression. Okay, so it adds just between the low THD and the feedback mode, we've now added a little bit more tonal variation, a little bit different sonic characteristic to the compressor than what I have in my console. Those are two extra features. The last thing I want to show you in this particular video is the 4K mode. So now what the 4K mode is going to do, it is changing the VCA from a balance to unbalanced and introduces harmonic distortion that's found in the old 4000 consoles, right? If we hold the 4K button in, we keep it depressed, and then we use the buttons to the left side of it, which is the THD and the feedback button, as like a plus or minus. Remember I said these buttons are multifunctional? This will allow us to give more or less harmonic distortion and color, and you'll see the 4K button will change colors from white to amber to red for more or less saturation. Again, another really cool feature that you don't get in a standard bus compressor. This is really cool. Let me demonstrate. So if we just engage it, you see it'll turn, it looks like on the camera white, but it's kind of an amber color. If I hold the button in, and now it's flashing, I can use these buttons to have less or more, and you'll see it'll turn red here, saturation, right? So there's eight physical clicks. I can hear the relays clicking, 8 clicks. Or 8 stages or 8 levels of saturation, from very, very little, almost none, to moderate to heavy. Let's demonstrate. So we'll start with it there, and I'll kind of increase it so you can hear it. And then if you hold down the 4K button again for a couple of seconds, it will reset. So however much distortion or saturation you added with the plus or minus buttons, it'll lock it in, and then you can just turn it on and off. So let's demonstrate this in stages. Let me first add different levels of harmonic distortion here. So just going in steps of 2 clicks and then going all the way up, all the way down. Once you get all the way up, you can start to hear it start to crunch up a little bit. And again, depending on the program material, that's probably a little too much. I go a little bit more mild than that. So maybe halfway. Now if I hold the 4K button again, now you'll see it's locked in and it stays the color of like a little bit of an amber color, which means I have about 4 clicks of saturation built in. Does that make sense? Now I can just turn it on and off just like this. So we'll start with it off, we'll turn it on, turn it off, and this is with about 50% of the saturation built into that 4K circuit. Here we go. Gives just enough little crunch to that snare, which I really like. Again, really, really cool. So again, if you look at the Bus Plus at least in this video, as just the basic bus compressor with more variation, with more attacks, more ratios, more release settings, which is cool. But having those three other buttons, the low THD, the feedback mode, and the 4K mode, that in and of itself, those extra features above and beyond the normal bus compressor, to me makes this piece worth it before we even talked about any other features. And there are a lot of other things that this compressor does. So in the next set of videos, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll know. The next video, we're going to actually walk through it. I'm going to explain to you right off the manual. I got 2 pages of notes here of what all these controls do, and we will systematically start adding in some of these features to what we've already built upon so you can see how you can take this and even make it sound even way wildly different than the actual bus compressor that's in these consoles, or if you bought the 500 series unit. And we'll also listen to it on things like parallel drum compression in a future video, how we can crush it and get that pumping and breathing effect. We'll do all of that. So leave your comments below. Let me know what other modes or what other things you want to see and how else I can better demonstrate for you the SSL Bus Plus. And let me know if you have a Bus Plus and how do you use it. I'd be interested to know how you use it. It takes a little to wrap your head around this unit, but by the time you watch all 4 videos that we're going to do together over the next several weeks, you'll have a really good understanding on how to use this thing. And even if you bought it and you're not sure how to use it and it looks a little intimidating, don't worry, this will be kind of like a user's guide. And if you're someone that's in the market for maybe this thing and you're not sure whether you want to get into this because it looks like it's too complicated, we're going to break it down really simply because it really isn't that complicated. You just got to wrap your head around it, and that's what I'm here to do for you. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Thank you to Solid State Logic for sending me the Bus Plus. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. And until the next video, I've been Dave with Mixing Music Analog and mixingmusicanalog.com. Thank you so much for watching me, everybody. And I'll see you guys in the next video.